GoForThe2.com. This is our Week 7 breakdown of a great matchup in Lubbock, Texas. It pits the 5th-ranked West Virginia Mountaineers and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. It's going to be a great game. It's a 3:30 start on ABC. You have to check it out, and we're going to break it down for you right now. What can you say about West Virginia? They're 5th in the country. They're averaging 52 points per game. And head coach Dana Holgorsen has the most prolific offense in college right now. His team is hitting on all cylinders. They won last week a very emotional victory on the road in Austin, picking up a 48-45 victory over Texas. They're led by their senior quarterback, Geno Smith, who's having a Heisman campaign. He's unbelievable. When you look at what Geno Smith has done in terms of his output, it's amazing. He's completed 81% of his passes for 1,996 yards. He's only thrown 38 incompletions with 24 touchdowns and no interceptions. Geno Smith has not thrown an interception in 5 games. The lowest scoring output by West Virginia on the year has been 31 points against Maryland at home. That was the lowest total in terms of scoring that West Virginia has scored, is only 31 points. That's an amazing stat when you think about it. They do have a running game. Andrew Bowie stepped in last week for injured running back Sean Alston. He rushed for 207 yards. Geno Smith and the offense has 2 legitimate deep threats in Tavion Austin and Stedman Bailey. They can score at will anytime they touch the ball, and they abused the Texas Longhorns secondary last week. How does that fare going into Lubbock this week? They have a very good offensive line that protects Geno Smith. It gives him time to survey, and there's no questions concerning the West Virginia offense. Dana Holgorsen rarely punts. He has that much confidence in his offense, and West Virginia could score at will at anybody in the nation. A concern for West Virginia has been their defense. They are giving up 35 points per game, and their run defense has been a little suspect. Maryland, a few weeks ago, exploited them. Texas was able to get yards on West Virginia running the football, and that's going to be a cause of concern heading into this matchup. When you look at this game on paper, it looks like it's going to be a West Virginia blowout. I have a different take on this game, and let me tell you why. West Virginia fans might jump all over me. I'm being objective. I'm not biased, but there's a couple of notes that concern me about this matchup heading to Lubbock. First, West Virginia just came off an emotional victory against number 11 Texas. That was an emotional game. That was a road game. They performed great on the road. They now come home back to West Virginia. They have to jump back on the road to Texas. Back-to-back road games. This is their first back-to-back road games on the year. Back to the state of Texas for the second time in a row. And the following week, after Texas Tech, they have a very emotional matchup with number 7 Kansas State. So is West Virginia looking ahead? They just had number 11 Texas on the road. They come back. They now have Texas Tech sandwiched in between 7th-ranked Kansas State. So that's going to be an important factor heading into this game. Does West Virginia, are they looking ahead a little bit? I have a little concern about this factor heading into this game. Secondly, Texas Tech, it's homecoming for the Red Raiders. Lubbock, Texas is a very tough place to play, and if you haven't played there before, it's a different atmosphere. In my estimation, I believe it's a tougher place to play than Austin, Texas. The crowd is loud. The crowd will be behind the Red Raiders, and expect head coach Tommy Tuberville to have a pretty good game plan in place. Tuberville is known to pull off the upset. He did it last year on the road at Oklahoma. He has a very experienced quarterback. They're led by their quarterback, Seth Doege. He did have a bad game last week. He threw for 3 picks, but he's averaging over 300 yards per game passing. Texas Tech is averaging 39 points per game scoring. Yes, they did play subpar competition prior to the Oklahoma game, but they still can score a ton of points. How does that affect the West Virginia defense heading into this ball game? They have 2 very good backs in Kenny Williams and Eric Stevens Jr. that can run the football. They're a balanced attack with Doege and Stevens and Williams, and they're going to get some yards against the West Virginia defense. Tommy Tuberville game plan heading into this game has to be ball control, run the football, get some yards on West Virginia, and keep Geno Smith off the field. Because if Geno Smith is on the field a majority of the day, West Virginia will win this ball game. But I believe Texas Tech will be able to run the football behind the homecoming crowd, and with the ability of West Virginia being on back-to-back road games, I think that's a key factor, and I expect Texas Tech to be in this ball game. Defensively, for the Red Raiders, they're giving up only 210 yards per game over 5 games. Yes, they did surrender 380 to Oklahoma, but in their prior 4 games, they only gave up less than 300 yards. That's going to be a key factor. It was subpar competition, and they haven't faced a passing attack like West Virginia, but the strength of the Red Raider defense is their run defense. They're giving up only 93 rushing yards per game, and their defense is good enough to force West Virginia to work methodically down the field. The game last week against Oklahoma was a little misleading. Doege did throw 3 interceptions, put his team in bad situations, and forced the defense into a short field, and that's why they did give up 41 yards to Oklahoma. Could be a little bit of a different atmosphere this week. I'm calling for the upset strictly because I think the back-to-back road games for West Virginia will have an effect on this team, and their defense has not been very good to date. And I'm looking for the upset in Lubbock. Texas Tech stuns West Virginia 35-30. People are going to think I'm nuts, but Texas Tech upends West Virginia on homecoming and spoils Dana Holgerson's return to Texas. Week 7, you heard it here first. Texas Tech upsets West Virginia. Go for the 2.com.